Southeastern China, in Jiangsu province, inland from Shanghai, is one of the most fertile areas in the country. Around the city of Wuxi, the communes are at the center of China's latest revolution. A baby girl, born just 10 minutes ago in a Chinese commune hospital. Her mother rests under a poster extolling the virtues of the one-child family. The Communist Party's tough birth control campaign is a controversial ingredient in a new revolution which is overturning China after Chairman Mao. A rehearsal of a song for China's National Day. It's a traditional tune with new words. The song is about the responsibility system, a radical new government policy which emphasizes individual effort and material incentives and is designed to make hundreds of millions of peasants and workers productive and prosperous. In the process, the new plan gambles with dismantling the communal system, which has been a key part of the Chinese Revolution. This film is about the latest revolution in the Chinese countryside and what it means for one family who, like 1/5 of the people on Earth, live in China's communes. It's also about a new materialism which could threaten the basis of the China established over the past 3 decades. Exercises to start the day at the Wangzhong People's Commune. Wangzhong is one of a cluster of communes close to the city of Wuxi in Jiangsu province, about 70 miles from Shanghai. With a population of about 800,000, Wuxi is a center for the new government experiment. It's of course no accident that we were able to make this film in the communes around Wuxi. It's clear that China is anxious that outsiders should see its new direction in a prosperous setting. It's close to the big towns that the new policies are producing their most visible results. The peasant's income in fertile regions like this is already greater than in other parts of China, And now they can also sell their surplus produce to the city workers. The ancient and picturesque Grand Canal also flows through Wuxi. Since China opened its doors to foreign visitors and their hard currency in the past few years, it has brought millions of tourists to the area. We filmed in 2 communes around Wuxi. This is the Hola People's Commune, the home and workplace of 18,000 people. Hola is developing rapidly. Despite its rural appearance, more than 3/4 of its income comes from industry, and its people are also enjoying a housing boom. This is Big Ding Village, one of 91 production teams that make up the Hola People's Commune. The sudden explosion of new housing in places like this has produced chronic shortages of building materials across China. Like many of their neighbors in the village, Mr. and Mrs. Ding have rebuilt their own house over the past few years. It cost them £2,000. Mr. and Mrs. Ding were peasants sharing the brutal poverty of China's countryside until the revolution in 1949. Today, Mrs. Ding is a commune leader and a member of the Communist Party. Her husband is an accountant in a commune factory. Their daughter-in-law works in a new commune electronics plant. One son is an accountant, the other is an engineering graduate. The prosperity of the Ding family is striking, but not untypical of this area. And it's hardly surprising that they're enthusiastic about the new direction in the Chinese countryside.
一次出生到现在，最愉快的辰光，就是一个愉快呢，就是那个年解放来说，那么我现在最愉快。那么现在呢，就是你小人嘛在头了，你农民们出国，头个日子结婚只要3年子，是吧？那么自己家里呢好像就是房子嘛盖好了，没啥事情。那么现在呢，就是正式为了你本人自家个思想来讲呢，就是一个阶段呢是最愉快的，幸福个辰光了，最愉快，家里面也没啥个气势。 最愉快一个辰光，最愉快的
近几年来呢，我们农村情况呢是有所好转了，就是每个产业的收入呢也逐年辣增加，水平呢生活水平呢每年辣提高。我家里呢6口人呢，我有四个出家劳力，4个出家劳动，4个人。那么我们一家呢还是全部在。 一个大家庭，还没有分家，是吧？一年个劳动个收入呢，都是由我夫人当家的，是吧？大致我们每一年呢，财政收入呢，总大概是4000多块的，从4500块钱左右那样子一个收入。那么好在我们中国个物价呢比较稳定。 从一年呢，我们来生活呢，仅仅我来生活呢开支呢，我们大概总是有1500块钱呢是有了，我们6口之家呢是1500块有了，那么所以逐年呢有一点节约。
This is where China's new gamble with prosperity is based, in the fields with the peasants. A few miles away from the Ding family and the Hola commune is the Wangzhong People's Commune. Wangzhong is only half the size of Hola. Far more of its income comes from agriculture. But the peasants of Wangzhong have shared in the sudden prosperity brought by the responsibility system. The new policy has transformed the patterns of China's countryside. Today, fields in Wangzhong are divided into strips, each worked by a single peasant or household. The more the peasant produces, the more he earns. Material incentives have replaced moral pressures. Individual effort now counts for more than collective mobilization. This is the new face of China's countryside. A brief experiment with a similar system 20 years ago was violently opposed by Chairman Mao, who was convinced it would lead to the rapid growth of inequality and division. But today's commune leaders, like Mrs. Ding, don't accept that a new gulf between rich and poor could develop.
责任制原因呢，因为责任制是根据一个劳动力来的，你一个劳动力把你2就2，3就3，那么你要32，那么你组织好出来，大家才好，是吧？大家并共同一道生的呀，你好我也好呀，这个呢就是你高一点都也会高一点，你干菜都也要干菜，就是一个呢也不会搞到那行，不会去到你们富退多么穷退一个不会个。
Zhu Guoxing is a production team leader in the Wangzhong commune. He's only 27 and had no previous experience of leadership. But 6 months ago, he was elected by his fellow villagers to lead their work in the fields. He replaced an experienced man of 50, who people felt wasn't able to adjust to the new ways. Today, Zhu Guoxing's responsible for the work of 164 peasants, but his job has been drastically modified by the responsibility system.
像过年呢，说不适应生产责任制呢，那你这个老周队长呢，这个老工作队伍呢，不到肯这个走上这个劳动的队伍呢，不到肯上进，这个呢又跟了不到劳动，个分子生产责任制里面，人才是做的，那你们这孩子上面，那你来了屋里人家跑工都已经在来了。 我们上工的责任啊，不要拿你劳得苦。我说我们孩子上面也还上，你都是在基本上在不肯讲。像现在到我们后来了，屋里人家跑工们都已经在来走上了。
Although Zhu Guoxing has seen the peasants in his production team working for themselves with a new enthusiasm, he has no illusions about the limits of the new freedoms, and he has no doubt about where the real power remains.
基本上一个，譬如说种一个大菠菜，种一个石头，不是你以生产来为定根，我要种几户来种几户根。但是现在是工厂地方才有小大根，你种50亩石头来种50亩石头，种2亩地菠菜才可以种2亩地菠菜，不可以我要种2亩石头来种40亩，不可以个。一个是都上的，工厂小大个任务啊。
In a Wangzhong village, a relic of a way of life that has now been rejected. The work gong that used to summon peasants to collective labor gathers rust. A street market in the Hola commune. What's different about it is that this is a free market. Once they've fulfilled their quota to the state, peasants are now allowed to sell their surplus produce for cash. It's another major shift from Maoist policies towards individual enterprise. Jiang Mingjun is 28, one of the new generation of leaders in the Hola commune. He had first-hand experience of life here during the Cultural Revolution, when the communes throughout China were compelled to carry out what were often disastrously inappropriate schemes for reasons of ideology. He saw Hola's forests destroyed in a futile imitation of a model commune in another region, and years of wasted toil to reclaim a lake. Today, Mr. Jiang is an enthusiast for the new policies, though he's aware of the problems they may create.
当然，实行农村的生产责任制以后呢，有一些新的问题会出现。譬如讲，每一个生产队，里面的那个村庄、道路，那些公共福利事业的设施，就没有一个统一的规划。那么这一些通过去年1年的那个实践以后呢，我们看到了这些问题以后呢，就现在呢有生产队的队长，把这一些去年存在的一些情况呢，集中的统一起来，把这些矛盾呢。 就在生产队里面呢，由队长统一处理解决。
Mr. Jiang hints at the central dilemmas of the responsibility system. The leadership struggles to preserve the vital cooperative framework of the Chinese Revolution, welding together 1 billion people while still encouraging the development of individualism and the pursuit of prosperity. Mr. Jiang is also frank about the rapid development of the industrial city of Wuxi, which is eating into the land of his commune and forcing peasants to become factory workers.
那么我们这个公社呢，是离城市呢比较近，因为我们这儿呢，我们公社呢，根据生产发展的需要呢，比国家征用了大部分的土地，就是造了很多的那个居民住宅，还有是工厂。 所以讲，我们公社的土地呢，现在的面积呢，要比以前呢缩小了一些。
In the silk spinning mills of Wuxi, the costs of China's rapid industrialization are clear enough. But despite the intense heat, the noise and the monotony, factory jobs like this are prized by Chinese women. Mrs. Ding has no doubts about why China's women want to work in factories.
过去呢要靠丈夫吃的，是吧？好像丈夫嘛到家里来，打点水来，不劳动来哦。那么等了我的宝宝小孩嘞，那么好个人家才是我呀。拿你们寄钞票来，宝宝小孩上楼长了，家里不过啥事体养不走呀。等了我的这个脑筋都在死个呀，所以不晓得这个姑娘姑长个，不晓得这个姑娘姑多个。 解放来这妇女才一出来呢，所以后来要讲到每个人的思想，每个人个情况都清楚的。那么过去的新闻旁生侪是来了大头人家淘米大菜，碰着这哦，你把大头个得来人家讲讲，别样有不认这个呀。现在嘛一出来以后呢，妇女的力量侪到来，到了以后嘛侪是像了经济地位有了政地位以后呢，我哋侪妇女侪在那个上头是得到平等的呀。
Mrs. Ding's daughter-in-law, Xu Mingjun, is 33, the same age as China's revolution. She has grown up as a working woman in People's China. Since leaving school, she has worked in the fields, in an electronics factory, on an assembly line, soldering, inspection, statistics. Now she works in an instrument factory, but her life in her husband's family remains strikingly traditional.
我来屋里个辰光呢，出家之前呢，母亲对我讲个来是，到这搿搭去呢，不好以前屋里一样来是，要死脾气来死脾气是吧？要孝敬公婆，要尊敬丈夫，屋里个事情嘛，好像要牵得走是吧？要来了个公公婆婆个脑筋里呢留下一个好的印象。
Xu Mingjun met her husband at the end of 1976 after he was demobilized from the army. In the traditional way, they were introduced by a matchmaker and met for the first time in the Ding's home.
第一次见面呢，我对这个印象呢，就是我是没大家讲过一句，印象嘛好像还可以，经长得是吧？也不是说啥那个长得那哈特别漂亮啥么子。 第一次见面呢，我也没搭了讲过闲话嘞，所以也是等了一些些，大概种10几分钟吧，我才走了。过后呢，到才是要求再提出第二次见面，搿么才我哋谈到见面第一次是来了后拉克，后拉克搿搭白后山地方。第一次见面嘛，我搭了谈话，通过谈话呢，我觉着的一个人呢。 那个讲话搭谈情嘴巴呢也是蛮热情个，谈话个啥物事呢也蛮直爽个，所以呢我也决定和他谈下去。
Xu Mingjun took her new boyfriend home to meet her widowed mother. She approved him, and she was happy with his family background, but there was more checking to be done.
你看我呢，再征求我家长个意见，我大姐呢是来上海个，征求到意见呢，到对伊个小店呢也进行过观察， 等于特地从上海就是坐来观察过迭个语言啊，迭个工作啊，认为还是蛮好个。所以我来征得迭里，征得我自家没听得几个同意以来，才是我决定才是打做嘛，叫我。
Upstairs at the Ding's home, next to their elder son and daughter-in-law, is the room of their younger son, Ding Zheqing. He's seldom at home. As one of the Hola Commune's rare university graduates, he's directed by the state to work in the city of Tianjin, hundreds of miles from home. Now he's back for a holiday.
那个国家吧，就是培养我们也是很不容易的啊，花了很多钱，把我们分配到天津工作呢，也是国家的需要。从我本人来说呢，就是从生活方面啊，或者其他方面考虑呢，还是愿意回无锡。
我对一个问题嘛，是我搿现在嘛，就是小女生嘛，出去读书辰光呢，侪是思想呢，我搿思想要是有不统一分配个，因为是大学，是伐？所以考试辰光呢，我就搭了讲，你在翻去的伐？哎哟，读书勿可以勿去搞，考试也勿容易，哪好勿去呢？葛末我是去的。其实呢，现在是分配到了天津，葛末离开家里很远呐。不过小女子呢，侪是家乡观念蛮严重个。是个家里好，蹲辣外，蹲辣家里呢，少一点吃一点呢，还是好。一个人少了吃呢，蹲辣搿搭勿好个水果，蹲辣搿搭我一个人吃食堂里面勿大好。葛末现在来讲呢，我是对头讲个，你们现在嘛还是去好好叫去干工作，那么到自己也是个，就闯了几年以后呢，做了队长以后，葛末稍微慢慢叫再调回来，是伐？
At the moment, Ding Zheqing is visiting his parents for the first time in months to celebrate the Mid-Autumn Festival. The visit is also an important chance to look for a wife here, which could help his transfer back home.
从我本人来说吧，因为学了这个机械专业啊，有一些专业的知识，当然喜欢呢自己的爱人呢，在这方面也有这方面的所长，这样呢就是在共同的工作中间、生活中间能够相互帮助。我想是这样的。
But Ding Zheqing is aware that it won't be easy for him to find a wife here with such qualifications.
现在这问题讲起来还不太好意思，还没有吧。
Ding Zheqing has just 14 days to try and meet a wife. On Lake Tai, a fleet of boats from a fishing commune. Close to Wuxi, Tai is one of China's biggest lakes and a rich source of fish for the communes in the area. It's the slack season now on the lake, and the boats will catch mainly small sprats at this time of year. But the tough physical labour and simple resources of the fishing teams are a reminder that despite the rapid developments in this region, China is still one of the world's poorest countries, struggling to make a living. In a village on the Wangzhong commune, people begin to gather early in the square. The mobile cinema visits a different village in the commune every night. Entertainment is still very limited in China's countryside, and the big turnout of peasants for this evening's film is an indication of a national thirst for information about the world outside the communes. Tonight's martial arts film is a safe blend of tradition and novelty, and after the many abrupt and often violent reversals of policy since liberation, until now, people have remained cautious about new ways and new campaigns. It's clear, though, that the enthusiasm of ordinary people for the new policies is more than a careful response to the current political climate. The problem for the party remains how to direct the enthusiasm for material prosperity, but still preserve the controlling structures of people's China. Big Ding village shop was suddenly repainted by the commune the morning we filmed here. It's an indication of just how important it is to the Chinese authorities to display the new priorities in the best possible light. The stock, though, is real enough, and the range of goods would have been unimaginable a few years ago. The violent campaigns of the late 60s and early 70s against any hint of materialism have been swept away, and the villagers enjoy the results. But 3 decades after liberation, the party is aware that despite the popular new direction, it faces widespread apathy from ordinary people. The new policies are designed to give the revolution new energy, but the more profound effects on Chinese society are hard to predict. Mr. Ding is aware of how things are already changing in the relations between the generations inside his own family.
一般重大东西、耐用东西啊、耐用高档的么子呢，是我们家里面人有一道讨论，认为啊讨论一般人认为同意了，啊谁再去购买的，也没有什么一个啊我们从没有说妹妹就去买了，没有经过大家同意，谁去妹妹就买了，这个情况还没有产生过，都商量。 现在呢，要尊重小辈了，还要尊重小辈意见，是吧？不能够像我们，舌头不能像家长舌头的手啊，是吧？所以还要发扬民主，对吧？哎。
Daily life in communes like Guangzhong, on the surface, appears largely undisturbed by the new policies for the countryside. But there are already hints of far-reaching social disturbances triggered by the new possibilities for materialism and prosperity, affecting families and relationships in fundamental ways. Mrs. Ding gathers mulberry leaves to feed silkworms. She is the Hola commune's leading expert in raising silkworms. But since the mid-1960s, she has also had another vital job as head of the Commune Women's Association. In that role, she sees her most important task to be the mediation of domestic disputes. It's a position that gives her a unique opportunity to see the changing patterns of social friction in her area. But she has no doubt about the origins of her skill in mediating disputes.
为啥个能够家庭当中我来10年个，所以一个当中呢，谁是我出去做工作呢，谁是比较有利。 因为哪哈处理好家庭呢，是从一个人的思想，跟你处事地方是主要的，所以我呢是个家庭来那样个，那么是吧？第一，我可以好讲讲，第一呢， 到这新对门里来当个老婆3几年，葛么就是说，女人呢男人呢总归听女人个闲话个，是伐？丈夫呢总归听夫人妻子个闲话，伊个那是事实。为啥这样个说法呢？搿辰光呢，我里老爹呢，我是试试个，试试的呢就是说，你娘头哪能勿好呢？是伐？都呢，我是说这几个坏话呢，都是为做啥呢？侪去寻到娘里，所以伊个事体呢是要勿得个。所以后来呢，我就搭了讲，我说你个人呢，是一点不思想转换，是我是真个对人个讲，你去对娘讲，也是冤枉娘俩，搿娘还要上去一家头么子勿大急。所以我也试一试，试一试嘛，我有些当里老爹说错，我说一个事体呢，我是搿弄出来个，你也是再去商量，是伐？一种人呢，你侪是不对脑思考，那么都是小些都说好，人冤枉，是伐？所以辣辣一个上头呢，侪是婆媳之间、把夫妻之间呢，侪是有好问题。所以一个是主要个，一个女个。俺今年头呢，开个家会议，一次会议呢，俺们说应该侪是说，开了一个男女个承诺开个会议的。以往几次呢，侪是俺们原来今年头正式开签订协议个会议，是伐
？In a brigade office in the Hola commune, Mrs. Ding begins another mediation. This is a valued ingredient of China's newest revolution. In the last couple of years, the system has been established to resolve local disputes before they reach the courts. Commune mediators have replaced the corrupt officials who traditionally doled out arbitrary justice. Like many disputes nowadays, this one is about property and a quarrel between generations. The conflict has 3 sides. Mr. Jiang is in dispute with his nephew's wife. She's here to put her family's point of view. Also involved in the dispute is Mrs. Tang, who has come to represent her family. In the mediation team, to help Mrs. Ding, are commune officials from the production brigade and the production team where the families live. The dispute is complicated and it has a long history.
Ah. 我呢，本人住辣上海的，那么54个房子呢是一间空了了。那么辣74年辰光呢，我准备把它卖脱。来买房子个辰光呢，我一个阿叔呢，张龙员呢，都提起一套解决，要我来同他解决。否则呢，就是艺术方面呢，就是好像不准我买了哇。那么当时我一个买房子个辰光呢，已经同当事人已经成交了。
The issue of the missing furniture has dragged on for over 8 years, with Mr. Jiang's nephew demanding compensation for his share in its value. The dispute is complicated by the fact that, though everyone has suspicions, no one is sure who first sold off the furniture. It seems the nephew's family suspect both the uncle and the new owner, but they've been unable to establish the facts. The matter has come to a head now, since the new owners of the house, the Tangs, are selling it again, and the nephew's family are insisting on a settlement of their claim, while there's money available.
我哩呢是一个大家庭，我哩一个阿公阿婆就是娘娘嘞，侪60、40了。在大家庭，一个大家庭里生活个。那么我哩呢有一房家产，侪是家具呢，侪是辣大家庭当中5百。然后我哩一个5伯伯呢，都一个房子空了，也去买了头。 网络头嘛，我里侪提出来，所以我提出来，侪是到里要做嘛呢，侪是帮我一个问题呢，侪给解决了的。别个嘛啊，没啥。
Mrs. Ding indicates that her team have already made progress in solving the dispute. They propose a practical compromise. They have persuaded Mr. Zhang to deposit 200 yuan in the Commune bank as a gesture of goodwill. Now the idea is to draw on that deposit.
那么老张你个看法，我的个意见呢是想来了你个村子里哈，拿100块洋钿出来，才是不了毛安你看看那哈一个意见。啊，但是你对一个问题呢是看看这个也没啥个意见，是吧？没啥意见是吧？好个。那么但是我大道理了解下来呢，是一个，就是当时呢，因为原来买一个房子呢，那么我哋考虑到当辰光个情况呢，就是说，就是大家打工人商量下来呢，就是有一个，就是当时呢，是吧？就是拿出一个150块洋钿，是吧？就是一个作为。 就是加上老张搿100块洋钿，一共是210块洋钿，作为拨了一个毛安一个家具个手续费，是吧？侪是一个问题看，就是每你看，还有啥个意见，是吧？
要帮侬解决，葛末我哋呢侪是发扬风格，让牛意侪是个喏贴白头一些手续费，
对伊讲没啥意见。
哎呀没啥意见。
啊，
照理来。 叫我拿一个钞票来，有点不大合理。啥道理呢？因为我的大家庭，我的兄弟6个的，以往加上呢，大家庭当中不干。现在呢，好像是叫我本人来负责度一个100块洋钿。不过现在呢，因为大哥就一个事体有没解决呢，我也是同意的。
好，哎，搿大哥，是吧？
照理讲出来呢，我250块洋钿呢，根本也基本上一帮家生个。但不过大哥侪娘太娘嘛，侪说法嘛，我嘛也是数力。一帮家生250块是个不白个呀，还是啥？那么我伊跟那也是上台调下来个。现在嘛，我一点点也没拿着，还是讲，我嘛也有小班里娘的呀。那么所以大哥为着就是接下来年轻族，大哥侪是为着大节省。 我嘛也是数力来。
那有上头呢，冇样，因为农业来讲呢，事实情况好像一房家生呢是发把250块个，对啊，一个250块洋钿呢，就是人家找也是好属于先人先本生意点，来了有上头呢，我认为呢，来了有上头呢，你大不要多计较了，因为侬长辈来讲，都也不是全部来农业一房生。 是啥？来有上头呢，侪达到大家头，叫人哋刚刚也少讲个。所以来有上头呢，都侪是有一个责任帮助人哋解决。所以男人呢，只好五体五娘个精神，是吧？因为农业来讲嘛，做数侪是一个上头呢，100说出来，还数落去；100再说出来呢，侪是还数是人家小朋友子孙弄上一点啥，不省一点啊。所以呢，你来小辈问题呢，也可以交代，对呀。所以希望人呢，侪是说来有上头呢，听我哋个说话。
Mrs. Ding is an experienced mediator, but the result of this dispute still hangs in the balance. It's a demanding job, and she's frank about how it affected her family when she first began mediation.
这个他都是，因为侬一个了解工作出去呢是没辰光个。那么我一般呢利用业余时间，人家在劳动呢，白天劳动，那么我夜里去。那么有一次夜里去呢。 事情解决到这晚上1点钟，到1点钟呢，我的老弟呢，谁吼得不得了。到讲你一种人呐，好像15岁个人比世界走着头，哎哟，你是比世界走着头，所以你个工作也都得，啊，都取笑我，来挖苦我。那么哎呦，我想想，去到个辰光，那么我也，搿么我也吼到死。 我的大儿子呢，都说来了么好了，还要啥年头还要翻。那么我帮我嘛，我说我非常高兴，以后啊我不后悔，我搭他讲，是吧？那么现在这么来，为了这么我也搭他讲清个问题，人家要去绍兴我许多人呢，几乎难。因此呢， 我30辰光还得那问题解决的，所以再去害许多人来呢，这个么子蛮麻烦个，所以不能给那个直接来限制，那个工作需要呢来决定，所以那个辰光呢，我也不做来这个项目，现在我是一家走头工作，啊，走头工作我想，哪里有事情要去请人家来解决偏向，搿别人家呢，就是那喊勿上个心理压力，搿一样个呀，所以现在呢都也没啥了，那么人家到我们家来呢，都要请头的手啊，到开茶店吃吃东西，或者我们都后到得了体恤我一段时间也都走走，这个是吧？所以一个街头呢，都还有反过个措施。现在呢都是比较蛮支持我个。
The compromise suggested by Mrs. Ding's team has been successful. The agreement is formally written down and all the parties are asked to sign. This kind of mediation is proving a highly effective method of resolving domestic disputes before they reach the courts. But it relies heavily for its success on long-accepted traditions like respect for the older generation. It remains to be seen whether the new forces at work in China's countryside may not threaten those foundations. A tea room for old men in Wuxi Commune. An important ingredient in the new policy for China's countryside is the recent plan to establish an old age pension scheme. It's a revealing innovation in a society which has always insisted that the younger generation should support its old people within the family unit. The new policies give young people an economic independence denied to earlier generations who were tied to their parents for financial survival. But this freedom is being reflected in a growing bitterness from old people about their children's refusal to offer the traditional support. Ten-year-olds learning English in a Wuxi Commune school. English is now established as a second language at every level of Chinese education in this area.
Lesson 14. Lesson 14. There is a blackboard on the wall. There is a blackboard on the wall.
It's an extraordinary change of direction after the 10 years of the Cultural Revolution, when all Western influences were banished as dangerous counter-revolution. In this school, the headmaster tells how all teaching was abandoned for a decade up to 1976. School children assembled here only to learn and recite the works of Chairman Mao. The cost to China of a whole generation of missed education is now bitterly recognized, and the drive to catch up is striking. The prosperity of this part of China is reflected in schools like this. But in the poorer areas, the struggle to modernize must do battle with the reality that there are still over 200 million adult illiterates in China. Mid-morning break in Big Ding Village School. The parents of these children were born mostly during World War II, a few years before liberation. For years, Mao encouraged them to have big families. But today's newly married couples face a hard dilemma. New government policies strongly recommend one child per family. The penalties for having more children include drastically reduced support for education and loss of social benefits. But for peasants in China's countryside, this one-child policy is in direct conflict with the responsibility system, which means that extra workers in the household bring extra income. The conflict has even led to recent reports of the revival of peasants murdering their girl babies so as to preserve their one-child quota for a more productive boy. It's a problem which affects many couples, even in prosperous areas like this. Mrs. Ding's daughter-in-law, herself one of 7 children, has had to come to terms with the one-child policy.
我呢结婚以后呢，跟一年呢才生了一个囡，生了囡以后呢，来了一个2年当中呢，我也不想要小人，是吧？别个呢，我的夫妻呢，搿当我的公公婆婆呢，总归只要希望要有第二个孩子啊，偏呢生一个女小孩了啥物事。别个呢，国家呢，侪是管伊个人口生育，在控制方面呢，侪是蛮紧个，是吧？我哋呢也考虑到，侪是咱国家的人口呢太多了。国家呢现在伊提倡侪是只生一个小人，所以呢，我哋现在呢也是坚决侪是只要一个就可以了。
现在呢，人家侪是在家里教育都从小在教育。我小儿子、大儿子、小儿子嘛，没有等我一点点头才到学校里去教育呀。我想想现在来教育嘛，在学校里侪教育了，从小就有谁教育了呀？搿这样慢慢的嘛，总归会得很好的啦，啊。
The children of Big Ding School perform a traditional dance. It's a well-rehearsed occasion, carefully prepared to entertain and impress visitors to the whole commune. The blend of tradition and opportunism contains many of the ingredients of China's latest and most hazardous revolution. The Dings are just one family among hundreds of millions who have lived through the waves of China's continuing revolution. Mr. and Mrs. Ding have moved from near starvation to material comfort. Today, they plan a new bathroom. Their elder son has left behind his extraordinary months as a Red Guard during the Cultural Revolution to become an accountant administering the new policies for the countryside. His graduate brother is reluctantly assigned to a research unit hundreds of miles from home. But his search for a wife here who may give him a transfer home has made progress.
所以呢，另外最近辣接触一个呢，效率方面算是比较低一些，但是呢，各方面精神比起呢，就是说难产啦，难产慢啦，辣辣儿女父母之间看起来还是比较理想的。都本人呢也没有意见呀。
在学了无锡了。
哎，来无锡啊！现在我们来无锡。今后呢，我们考虑他呢，那小女生呢，那啥，辣天津啊，能够争取他调到无锡来工作，一块生活。我相信我们这个家庭是愉快的。
The new song for China's National Day on the 33rd anniversary of the revolution celebrates the values of the new China: modernization, material incentive, individual effort. The question remains whether the government can push through its new line to deliver prosperity to 1,000 million people before the new forces released by the latest wave in the revolution begin to threaten the revolution itself.